Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just want to start off this video by saying a big thank you to anybody who is watching this right now. I'm always thankful for anybody watching any of my videos, but if you're taking time out of your day to watch this video in particular, I just wanted to say thank you because this is going to be a very special video. Today's video is going to be a story time about my dog Gizmo. For those of you who don't know, Gizmo passed away March 11th of this year. And I just took some time off from YouTube just because there was a lot of changes going on and I needed some time to try to get adjusted. I was lucky enough to have Gizmo for 18 years. So having him that long in my life, just being part of like my daily routine, it was definitely an adjustment once he wasn't here. So I feel like I'm in a much better place now and I really missed doing these videos. So I'm so excited to be filming this right now. Gosh, I don't even know where to start with this story. It's been a long journey and I really didn't talk too much the past year that we had with Gizmo. On my YouTube channel, I didn't talk about a lot of the issues that were going on just because it was just really difficult going through all these changes with him and all of the problems he was having. So I guess I'll start there. I'll start with last year, kind of when everything started. March of 2021, it was like the day before my husband Zach's birthday, and that night we went to lay down and Gizmo just could not get comfortable, which was really weird. It was really unlike him. No matter where we moved him to, if we put him in his dog bed, we tried laying on the couch, the bed in the spare room, just he would have the hardest time getting comfortable. He was whining all night and I was just really scared. I stayed up all night with him, and as soon as the vet opened in the morning, I gave them a call, and luckily they got him in. And that's kind of where like the whole journey just began, was that day at the vet. It's really hard to try to figure out like what's going on with your dog when they can't really like tell you what's going on. So they found a few different issues with him over time. They realized that his prostate was really enlarged, so they thought maybe that's what was causing him discomfort. He also had a heart murmur, but he also had kidney problems. But I think overall, the main issues that Gizmo was having, like most of his health problems, were stemming from the issues with his teeth. We did take Gizmo to get his teeth cleaned. We just weren't like as diligent about it as we should have been. I didn't ask enough questions when when Gizmo was young at the vet. I didn't really know what to ask. I really didn't know the right way to take care of a dog, to be honest with you. And even though we did get Gizmo the care that he needed later in his life, I think if we would have started earlier, I think he would have gotten more time. I think we would have had more time with him. I do feel in a lot of ways that I let him down. That was one thing I really struggled with throughout all this, is just the guilt of just not taking care of him the way he deserved to be taken care of. As a younger dog, I should have been more diligent about taking him to the vet and finding out, asking the questions that I needed to know how to take care of him better for the future. Gizmo had a lot of issues with eating and drinking that past year, the last year of his life. It was really hard for him to eat. It became a really long process to find food that he could eat, because whenever he would eat, he would start to do this like reverse sneezing where he would inhale, but he couldn't exhale, and he just kept inhaling and inhaling. And sometimes it would make him sick to where he would start vomiting, and then he would get this mucus coming out of his throat, and it was just really scary. Zach was at work. He was working nights at the time, and I had just gotten off of work. I was taking dinner out of the oven, and I heard Gizmo drinking his water, and I guess he drank it a little too fast because he started to reverse sneeze. And I rushed over to him and I started petting him to try to calm him down. But I wasn't the one who was like really that good with him the way my husband was. Zach was like really good with Gizmo. Gizmo really trusted Zach with his whole heart. Like whenever Zach would hold him and calm him down, he would settle down. Like he was really good at getting Gizmo to settle down. I was petting him and trying to get him to calm down, and he started the vomiting, and I was trying to clear out his airways, like pulling that out of his mouth, but it started to come through his nose, and I've never seen it do that before. So I didn't want him to have both airways blocked. So my mom and me, we drove to the emergency vet. They took him back. Zach came and met us at the hospital. The vet that was seeing Gizmo that night at the ER had never really seen him before. She didn't really know very much about him, but she wanted us to euthanize Gizmo right there and then at the hospital. And it was devastating to get that news. It was hard to hear that, but we wanted to wait and see how he would do, because these situations happened a lot with us, and we know that Gizmo just needs time to calm down and he'll be okay. But she just wanted us to do it right there on the spot, and it just wasn't something we were comfortable with, because Gizmo hated the vet. He would get so stressed out at the vet. He would be shaking, he would be crying. Until we got him in the car and got him home, then he would settle down. But like when he was there at the vet, he was miserable. And the thought of him, his last moments being in that hospital, the place where he was the most miserable, I couldn't do that to him. So they got him stable for the night, and I told them that we were going to go home and talk about it, and we would decide the next day. So we talked about it that night, and me and Zach made the really hard decision that it was time for Gizmo to go. And I didn't want to make that decision. I didn't want it to happen, but we knew that he was struggling a lot, and it would just be a matter of time before he ended up in the hospital again. And it really stressed him out to always be going to the hospital, and I didn't want to put him through that again. So we called this really wonderful service that would come to your home, and that way Gizmo could be at home when he passed away. He could be somewhere comfortable with people who loved him instead of being scared at the vet. So the next day when Gizmo passed away was actually like a really beautiful day. Like, it was kind of weird how wonderful it was. We went and picked up Gizmo at the hospital, and when they brought him out to me, he was like wrapped in all these blankets, and he looked so precious. Like, I can't even put into words. That was the most precious he's ever looked in his whole life. And he looked pretty precious his whole life. But that day there was just something different. Like, he looked at me and he just looked so relieved to see me. Like, he was so happy to get the heck out of that hospital. And we were talking to him the whole way home, and I was telling him that I love him, and that what had to happen was for him, that we didn't want to do this, that was what was best, that it was what was best for him. And we brought him home, and my sister and my brother-in-law came over, and my mom was there, and we all got to see him and take pictures with him, and he just looked so cute. He looked so cute. And I was really happy because my other dog, Michonne, she spent her whole life with him, and she got to see him again. And she was so worried about him when we brought him home. She was like sniffing all over him, like to check him out, to see where, how he was. And he was just in such good spirits. He was eating, we were feeding him like meatballs because he was starving. He didn't really even get to eat dinner that night before. And it was so cute because we made him these meatballs, and we like mashed them up and fed him with a spoon. And he was eating so good. Like, he hasn't ate that good in a long time. He was drinking water really good. He was walking pretty good. Like, he looked so good. We almost changed our mind. Like, there was a moment when we all kind of looked at each other and we're like, should we even do this still? Like, he looks so happy. But Zach was the one who struggled the most with the decision, but he was the one who said, yeah, we should still do it, because he's just tomorrow might not be this good. So we knew in our hearts that he was struggling. So we ended things on a really good note with Gizmo. It was a perfect day. The vet who came to our house was so nice. She introduced herself to Gizmo. She let us all say our goodbyes. Sorry, I'm gonna try really hard not to cry. And me and Zach took Gizmo down to the basement, like that's where our living room is, and we sat on the couch and we were telling him just how much we loved him and what a good boy he was. And I told him that I would find him in the next life. You know, I don't really know what happens when we die. I don't know if there's a life after this. But if there is, if there's something after all this, I know that I'm going to be looking for him. I just wanted him to know that our souls were just connected and that we would always find each other again. When it was time for us to put him down, I sat in his dog bed and I held him, and Zach was standing like where Gizmo could see him, and we were just petting him, and I just was petting him, telling him I love you and I'll find you, just over and over until he was gone. Gizmo made such an impact on my life, and I know that I will always carry the lessons that he taught me with me always. Like, as long as Gizmo was with me and in my life and happy and healthy, like I had everything, and I appreciate that, and I see it now. And even the past year where things were hard, I appreciate that time too, because it brought me and him closer. Like Gizmo really, he was so independent. Like he was always like doing his own thing. But that last year, he really relied on me and trusted me in a way he never had before. And I'm grateful for every single second that I got with him. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for dealing with me crying and watching and hearing all about Gizmo. I'm going to end this video with the eulogy that I gave at the memorial service that we had for Gizmo like 2 weeks after he passed away. We put together like a little memorial for him, and I'm just going to share with you guys the eulogy that I wrote for him. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. When I was little, one of my biggest dreams was to have a dog. Mom and Dad didn't want one because they were a lot of responsibility. I didn't understand at the time how much responsibility really comes along with having a dog. I just knew that I wanted to love one. I'll never forget how full my heart felt when Mom told me about Gizmo. I had called home while I was at summer camp, and she said we got a new dog. I wanted to come home right there and then. The whole ride home from camp, I was on the edge of my seat, just counting the minutes until I could meet him. I could picture the moment like it was yesterday. I swung open the front door, and this tiny little ball of fur and energy came hurtling towards me, and nothing was ever the same after that day. After a few months, Mom and Dad sat us down to tell us that they were going to have to find a new home for Gizmo because he was too bad. And to be fair, Gizmo was a really wild puppy. But me and Jackie were not giving up that easy. We cried and cried until they changed their minds. They told us we could keep him if we took care of him. I was only 14 at the time, so I really didn't know what I was signing myself up for. But I didn't care. All I knew was that I wanted to love Gizmo for as long as I could, and that is exactly what I did. I didn't always know the right way to care for him, but he was always patient with me, and I felt like he really trusted me. Gizmo was a complex person. There were a lot of things that could be said about him. He was very smart, and he knew it. He always seemed like he thought he knew what was best. He was very stubborn, and you couldn't tell him anything. He was his own person. And even though he couldn't speak, he would let you know what he thought. Gizmo was resilient, a tough old goat just like my dad. He fought to stick around. Even on his last day, he never gave up. But I think my most favorite thing about Gizmo is what a good friend he was. He stayed by my side, rain or shine. Even when I was too anxious to notice, he was always there to comfort me. All he would have to do is lay down next to me, and it would quiet all my fears. He always knew when I needed him. For being so small, Gizmo's presence filled every single room of the house. Now, each room is filled with his absence. But grief is the last act of love we give our loved ones. so I will continue to miss him until I see him again. I promised Gizzy before he had to go that I would find him. I don't know what happens after we die. All I know is when it's my turn, I'll be looking for him. A love as strong as ours simply cannot die. It cannot be contained by the restraint of time. I just want to end this eulogy with a message for my perfect boy. Gizmo, even though this past year was one of the most difficult we've encountered, I want you to know that I would do it all over again. I would suffer all the pain of losing you if it meant that you and I could start over again. It was the honor of my life to have the privilege of being your mom. I love you, Gizmo. I'll see you later.